сейчас снимаешь, да?
Сейчас уже снимаю. Видишь, кнопочка там мигает.
А, в эту сторону.
Все.
Снимает?
Снимает, что ты находишься в метро сейчас. Ну все. Так, есть рекорд. Вот сюда нажимаешь на красный. Смотри, ты видишь красный рекорд? Красное написано там, красными буквами. Наверху прям. Вот это значит, что она сейчас снимает. Как только на красную кнопочку видишь, нажал, она сейчас снимает. Сейчас она снимает.
And remember that the narration is going to be based upon the sights on the right side of the boat.
А ты вот эти вот снимай здания, ага, смотри, какие там красавчики.
But if you look ahead, you're going to see a clock tower on a pier. It'll be gray and green, pinkish green roof from which New
Смотри,
York
сколько на статуе
began.
свободы людей, видишь? Вот это все на статуе свободы едет.
And as you can see, it's coming into focus right now. Being the first, not for her birthday. But Annie would not have recognized these buildings 6 years later. You see, in Annie's day, the buildings were mostly holdover from the port. And they were made from Georgia pine with slate roofs. And slightly after midnight on June 14th, 1897, there was a terrible fire there. And it grazed the island. Now, the 200 people who were there were not harmed. They were taken to safety at the U.S. barge office. I'll show you where that used to be. These buildings were here when it reopened in December 1900. Some were still being built. You see, immigration then worked something like this. Ships coming into the harbor would basically go to Manhattan. That's where they would join with the other environs to become one of the 5 boroughs that make up New York City as you know it today. And Brooklyn is really quite rich in history. First settled by Dutch farmers back in 1626. If you look straight ahead, you're going to see a 2-tiered motor crossing. That is the Brooklyn-Queens Expressway. That's in an area called Brooklyn Heights. It was in Brooklyn Heights that George Washington fought the first major battle of the Revolutionary War. The battle of Long Island. We're going to show you part of this retreat.
Снимаю.
But right now we're going to head toward another cherished site in New York City. And that is the Brooklyn Bridge.
Говори, все нормально. Рассказывай. Ага.
Now the Brooklyn Bridge is the first bridge over the
Ну
East River.
что-нибудь.
And it was built by a father and son team, and their name was Roebling. John Augustus was the father and the chief senior engineer, and his son was Washington Roebling. And the job that they had before them was this. They had to build a bridge that was going to be tall enough to allow some of the tall ships of the day to go beneath. This bridge had to be 1 mile long. It would require 14,000 miles of cable to build the suspension bridge. And right from the beginning, they had problems. If you look off to the right, you'll see the Brooklyn Tower of the bridge. The father, John Augustus, the chief senior engineer, he was standing on a pier right near there, scouting for where that very tower would go. When all of a sudden the ferry slammed right into that pier and crushed his foot.
Рассказывай,
He
рассказывай.
was later amputated, and unfortunately, he died less than 3 weeks later from the infection.
Ну рассказывай что-нибудь, я снимаю.
So his son, Washington Roebling, took over as chief engineer. They actually called him Colonel Washington Roebling, and that was no fly-by-night title. He earned that with a lot of toil during the American Civil War. was depression
Чего ты
sickness.
рассказывай?
It left him incapacitated, partially paralyzed.
Потом же смотри, давай, говори, рассказывай, где ты, что ты, расскажи, где ты находишься.
It took 16 years to put this bridge here, but for more than 11 of them, he didn't come down. He didn't come down to this bridge until months after the celebration.
Уже Манхэттен.
But there was one more moment.
Вы же там.
This bridge is not moving under any other name but rolling. So this rolling, they're on top. You see people walking and riding up there. But please don't forget the other footnote in history. That a woman in 1870 America did play a major role in helping to build the biggest bridge in the world. You see, because that did happen. Now, that blue bridge is the Manhattan Bridge. The bridge beyond that is the Williamsburg Bridge. Its nickname is the Gateway Bridge, and that's because that is the gateway that most immigrants took going to live in Brooklyn for the very first time. Off to your right, you see an American flag with green and white and orange and white one below it. This is where George Washington and his men came to after the Battle of Long Island. You see, a severe when you hear about any big federal case that happens here, it happens there. Now, right in the middle of the municipal building on the other side is Chambers Street. During the French and Indian War, that's where the settlers built a massive stockade to protect themselves. Now, that gray discolored building you see is the Fulton Fish Market. It's been there more than 150 years. Except now the fish they come by truck, not by ship. Pier 17 is home to many shops and restaurants, and it's part of South Street Seaport. It goes inland a couple of blocks and out a couple of blocks. It's a really big, popular area. Now, there's a free minivan that comes here. And if you wish to know how to take that, please listen closely at the end of the cruise. And I'll be more than happy to go with you. This is where two of those tall ships remain. Now, if you come over to this area, and you're planning on going to a show in New York City, remember to go to Cedar Street. You can actually get tickets there at 35 to 50% off. I kid you not. And here are two of these tall ships. Now, that rust-colored gray-white black ship, that is the Wavertree. That was built in Southampton in England back in 1885. The black one with the white trim is the Peking. That was built in 1911 in Hamburg, Germany. While we have, there's a blue shark, the blue and green one. It's a circle-line ship there. Now, and you can visit all this and more. They have museums and stores here. They have bars and stores here. They have restaurants and stores here. They have stores within stores here. And yes, they're waiting for you. And as you see, it's very popular. But if I could, I'd like to direct your attention now to that second empty pier coming up on our right. Do you see that street right before it? That street is Wall Street. And you're going to know it because you're going to have approximately 5 to 6 seconds to see Trinity Church right down the middle. This is where the Dutch back in 1653 built their wall to keep the Native Americans and the British out. But you know the British, they don't always like doing what's expected of them, so they surprised the Dutch and came by sea. Just 5 blocks down, go left. You come to Pearl and Broad Street and Francis Thomas. That building is the first Department of War, the first Department of Foreign Affairs, and the first Department of the Treasury. Alexander Hamilton had it on his bill. And by the way, he's buried at Trinity Church, along with Robert Hope, Steamboat, Francis Lewis, right of the Declaration of Independence, and William Pratt, first newspaper. Francis Tavern is where George Washington in 1783 said farewell to his officers. Because as some of you aboard today know, he was offered a job much higher than president, and he turned it down, which actually was the first act in the beginning of the American government. We're now past the downtown Port Authority heliport. Yes, you can do yours, but then the schedule you would have to call for changes often. Now, where you see the trees behind it is the Vietnam Veterans Plaza and Memorial. And for those who may not be aware, George Washington was originally wanted to become King of America, but he said, two old ferry terminals, both built before 1910. The first one is the yellow and white Governor's Island. The orange and blue Staten Island ferry terminal. This one coming in averages 70,000 people a day. But I'd like to direct your attention to the other side.
Это Гардиан. Вот отель, где мы живем. Так, сейчас. Так. Вот, свидание. Вот. Машинки ездят, люди ходят. Все, поехали. Вот, поехал маленький автомобиль.